welcome to another episode of 20 by 44 Life, a pickleball podcast. Welcome everyone back. I know it's been a few weeks since we've had a new episode come out. A lot of traveling, a lot of tournament play. One of those tournaments was with our guest for today, but I'd like to welcome Jim Bronson. How are you, Jim?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Happy to have you on. Want to kind of give everybody a little bit of intro. So for those that haven't met Jim yet, whether on or off the court, you'll definitely see him in a lot of events coming up, from the NPL Champions Pro, Senior Pro, pickleball side to any of the Senior Pro tournaments you have coming up. Jim's from Toledo, Ohio, right now, and I'll get some more of the backstory because Jim and I know each other through pickleball and have gotten to know each other pretty well, but I don't know the whole history either. I know some of how he got into pickleball, which we'll touch on, but really want to just jump into your story and how you've gotten to where you are today. We focus a lot on each one of our episodes about different personalities of the game, the community of the game. So why don't we kind of start off with how you got into pickleball or found this game?
So I grew up playing racquetball, and I played most of my life, and then I took a break from that for a while, came back and started playing it and got serious about it. I played like an open/pro level, played a lot of outdoor racquetball, which is even more obscure than regular racquetball.
I haven't done that one.
No, it's actually way more fun. But as time goes by, racquetball has just kind of been, especially in my area, it just keeps getting less and less people. So I was getting bored and I was looking for something to do. And I knew some of my old racquetball buddies were playing pickleball. So I called them one day and just said, "Hey, where are you guys playing at?" So then I went and tried it and borrowed a paddle and such. And then you know what happens after that. And then you go get a paddle. And then I just played it a little bit. And I was not very good in the beginning because racquetball is not exactly the best translator for pickleball. And then, then I basically became addicted to trying to get better at it. And then you meet a ton of people, and that was the thing I like about the most. You can go, I can drive 20 minutes in any direction and meet a whole new group of people playing pickleball, and the courts are always full and there's always somebody there to play. And then I figured I'd try some tournaments. So that my first tournament I played, I believe, was January of 23, just at a YMCA. And it was like a 3-5 plus or whatever. And I really got whipped. I mean, we were out pretty quick.
We all go through that the first time, man. We all go through it the first time.
And then I decided I wasn't going to, I was trying to avoid that from then on. And then so I just started meeting more people and practicing and watching YouTube videos and just trying to learn how to get better. And so basically now I probably should take more time off because I'm on the court too much. But
so how?
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't raining out, I would already been out today. But it's raining today, so I get a break.
I know it is here too. So in total, about how long have you been playing for then? Because I know some people, there's people that, you and I have talked about this, but like, I didn't really know what pickleball was long before I kind of just got addicted to it. Right. So I'm like 2.5 odd years in. How long have you actually been playing for then?
October 2022 was the first time I actually hit a pickleball.
And I know we met.
I knew about it. Like, I think 3 years before that, a guy I played racquetball with would play it in the gym at the YMCA where we played racquetball.
Yeah.
And all I knew was I heard that annoying sound in the gym, and I was like, what are they doing in there, And then, and he's actually who I called when I decided to play. But that was like 3 years before I actually tried it. So.
Okay. No, I was curious, and I'll get into that. I don't want to forget about a good question I have in the racquetball translation, because for those that haven't seen you play yet, you're quick on the court. That's one thing I feel like you and I both share in our styles. You're quick. So I hear the racquetball not translating, but I can tell you the agility and the quick feet have. But the Toledo connection, right? So everybody listening, you can meet great people on the court, people you become friends with, lifelong friends with, just become a part of the pickleball community. But you and I met in Toledo.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think we met before that on the court playing against each other in a mixed bracket and started talking paddles and
Yep.
analytics kind of the game right away. We're both super analytical. But was that like your second, third tournament? You know, was that because that was I feel
That
like
was in the very beginning. Yeah. I
yeah
mean, I think I played maybe one or two others before
okay
that one.
okay. Yeah, I mean, pickleball in Toledo seems to be growing. I know, Lexi and I, my wife and I, have done the mixed bracket there, kind of year in and year out, and we've met a lot of good friends and people through there. And they host a great event for those that are in the Midwest area, the Glass City Toledo Glass City Invitational. Check it out. It's actually coming up in the not so distant future here, but. So I mean, pickleball in Toledo as a whole, like do you see it growing? How's it taking off? And I guess like, are you originally from Toledo, or what? How is your?
I grew up in Perrysburg, which is a suburb of Toledo, but same difference. It's real close.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, there's always new people like the courts that are by me in Sylvania, where I go drill a lot. I try to go at odd times when the main groups aren't there because you don't want to take up a court to drill when there's a bunch of people there. But there's always, I mean, just in the last year, they used to be empty and now they're full of high school kids every day, like right after school's out, and
See,
you
that's
see a
cool.
ton
That's
of
cool. Seeing the younger players get out there and play
right.
too, because we don't get as much of that like here, like in Michigan, right? In Canton, Michigan, there's a lot of different ages playing, but you don't see after school the younger crowd just jumping out. There's a lot of organized play. I feel like out at Wolverine and Ann Arbor, things like that, but we don't see a lot of the younger crowd
Yeah,
jumping out. So that's cool.
I feel like there's not a lot of organized play around here. There's like five sets of courts within probably 15 to 20 minutes of my house, and they're all just stack paddles at prime time. And so it's not really it's organized as stacking paddles, right? You can't just take a court, but they're always busy. I mean, there's people everywhere from beginners to the better 4 or 5 plus, I guess you'd call it, players.
No,
There's a
and
lot of
that's
people
cool, and
playing in
I'm
this
I'm
area.
glad to hear that there's the organized side of the play too. Honestly, because for those that are new to pickleball, listen to the podcast, haven't just done everything with your own group, or haven't jumped out to some public courts for open play type scenarios. When Jim's talking about stacking paddles, a lot of times you have a paddle rack, or just every court seems to have its own somewhat method for next up on the court or joining in with a group. And the one thing I always say, it's funny you brought up this the sound of the annoying sound of the pickleball, right? And it's like when we had Simon on from Picklepreneurs, he talked about how that actually helped him find pickleball, and he's all about promoting the make pickleball louder, and that kind of hit home with me because I'm like, yeah, you hear complaints, Florida, the Villages. I know there's been the sound deadening curtains or noise deadening different ideas put out there for communities where they're close to homes. But also the flip side of that is it's drawn some of us to be like, oh, what is that, or what is that
Right.
sport? And yeah, I mean, I know there's people that will go to the courts and be a little tentative to jump in with people, but I'll tell everybody out there, like, just meet people, be a little outgoing for a minute, because most of the pickleball community is inviting and going to welcome you in. Sure, there's going to be those that are going to try to overcoach you and might get a little difficult on the courts. We've all also experienced that. But yeah, it sounds like you guys have even more of that there than what we have here, but it's growing, I feel like, everywhere, and yeah, really taking off. So okay, so I gotta jump into the racquetball thing, because for those that haven't met Jim and I in person, we are pretty analytical. Most of the time, we see a lot of things on the court the same way. Always have some differences. We'll jump in a bit, and we recently played the U.S. Open and split age together, pro. But we're analytical minds. So coming from racquetball, right? I'm not the racket sport guy at all. You know that, hockey background,
Mhm.
right? But fundamentally, it's still a racket sport. You still have a lot of footwork, a lot of quickness, a lot of hand-eye. But when you said a lot of it doesn't transition over, we might have some racquetball players listening. What aspects do you think don't, transition over, and what habits did you have to break? More importantly.
So in racquetball, you swing as flat as possible. And you don't want to spin the ball, right? So you hit it flat, and so the lower you want to hit it, the more you bend your knees, and you just get low to the ground. And the game is played pretty low. We'll call it 2 feet and under, right? So
Yeah.
obviously that hits the net in pickleball. So really, I never spun a ball until I played pickleball, and then on the opposite side of that, when you'd hit an ATP, an ATP, that's racquetball, right? You get to run out and keep it 6 inches off the ground and hit it. That's like easy for me. And then basically the whole thing, the footwork translates because footwork is any sport, right? Like
Yeah.
footwork
Yeah.
is king for any sport. If you're not in the right spot, you can't really hit a good shot in anything, right? So
And yours are
not
quick.
at least not high percentage.
And yours are quick. You get to every ball, I swear.
Yeah, I mean, for 51, I would stand pretty fast. Maybe not for 25, but for 51, I would consider myself pretty fast.
I'll give you fast for anything, for any age. But no, yeah, I mean that's one thing I was thinking about was like the wrist snap and the wristy side of it, right? Because we all had to learn and unlearn things, even coming from hockey, engaging my wrist, too much or not enough from shooting pucks, things like that. In terms of like a technical
Mhm.
aspect like that, do you think what is your thought like from a racquetball standpoint? I know basically pickleball, right? We're going low to high with a lot, or those low pushes, low to high through the ball to make sure we're getting that top spin over the net. But I mean, in terms of like racquetball with the wrist perspective, was that something you had to relearn a lot of, or pretty quick to pick
Uh,
up?
it actually helped me because I changed my grip quite a bit while I'm playing pickleball.
Okay.
And in racquetball, you have a completely different grip from forehand to backhand. So that makes it easy for me to switch it because it's like natural for me to switch. And like when I hit a backhand flick or a backhand roll type shot, I switch my grip. If
Got
I
it.
have
Okay.
time, if you're just playing defense, obviously I keep the same grip as I had on a forehand. But I feel like that's an advantage versus someone who hasn't. I don't know anything about tennis. I'm gonna be honest. I've never played one game of tennis in my life. I don't think they change grips. I don't really know, but when you flip your grip over, it makes my wrist. I feel like I have a pretty strong backhand, like at the kitchen line or whatever, flicks and rolls and stuff. And I think that's because I'm able to change my grip. And I've never really, I don't know, my wrist. I just try to keep it loose. I don't know. I never really thought about my wrist when I played racquetball for some reason. It wasn't a key
Okay.
thought in
And
my
that's
mind.
I only ever
Swinging.
played super recreationally, so you have that way
Yeah,
up on me. So I always did it for the workout and kind of never really knew what I was doing. But I'm glad
yeah,
I was able to get addicted to a different racket sport or paddle sport here,
yeah.
and yeah, and jump in that way. Um, so I got to bring up NPL. I know you have an event coming up. So for
Yep.
those
First
that,
one.
what was that?
It's the first one coming up.
And is it next weekend? Or is it
Yep.
weekend? Okay, next weekend. So
Yeah,
I'm
17th.
okay, and I'm gonna let you explain a little bit, if you don't mind, about what MPL is and everything like that. But what I will, the little bit of intro I'm gonna give, because it's impressive, honestly, the way that you've climbed through the ranks of any age, right? If it's open or if it's senior open or if it's champions pro, whatever you want to call the top divisions right now in pickleball. I mean, you've for a non-tennis player coming over, because we're all seeing at the open pro level, you're having tennis players take over in singles, learn the doubles game, all that. But for a non-tennis player to jump in as quick as you have and kind of send those ranks, definitely go through NPL and what that journey's been. But the quick intro I'm going to give: it is a team pickleball league. It is. There are 12 teams going into season 2. I know there's some additional teams this year, right? So my understanding, you have teams all the way from Seattle to Naples, Florida, and there's kind of larger teams than what are on in Major League Pickleball for those that might watch MLP and that team environment of the sport. But Jim, I know you won one of the combines in Florida as well. So can you kind of just take us through the combine to like what NPL really is?
Yeah, so the combine, I believe there was 120 people at Florida at the Diadem Complex, 60 men, 60 women, and then they grouped you up into groups of 8, and then like pods of 8, and then you played everyone in your group, played with everyone in your group. So you played 7 games of doubles, and then they took on day 1 the top 2 finishers in each pod, which makes the top 16. Went on to Sunday to play in the top 16, and everyone else still plays because all the teams are there scouting and looking for people or whatever. And then Sunday in the morning, they had a group, but then in the afternoon, the top 16 women and the top 16 men played, and then a few other pods I think were still going. And then basically, if you won your pod on Sunday, there was 2 male pods and 2 female pods. You got an automatic. You're guaranteed to be drafted. That's your prize for winning or whatever. That's the trophy. And so Saturday I played. I figured I was probably the 4th best guy in my pod or whatever, and then we had a 3-way tie for the lead actually, and I won all the tiebreakers fortunately. So then I thought the best guy in our pod, he got 3rd in the tiebreakers, but that's how it worked out. And then so he didn't even make the top
Sometimes it
16.
works out that way.
Yeah, luckily when I played with him, we won 11-0, so that might have, that definitely helped my cause to win the tiebreakers. But and then on Sunday it was the same thing, but everybody you played on Sunday, or at least in my pod, were the winners from Saturday. And then I had the same record both days, and I'm not even sure what the other people's records were, to be honest. It was like a blur on Sunday. I just played game after game until it was over, and then I was fortunate enough to win it. So then Shea Coker won the other one. And then so that puts you into the auto draft position. You're guaranteed to be drafted. So then the actual NPL is 12 teams, 14 players on a team, 7 men, 7 women. So that's 168 people. And I believe there was 360 some people signed up for the draft.
Okay.
So, and then I believe there's 32 signed players from the previous year, which aren't guaranteed, but probably going to get drafted, right, if they're signed with the NPL.
Yeah.
And then you have there was a combine in Texas as well. So then you got 4 males and 4 females guaranteed to be drafted. And then the rest of the people were either players from last year that weren't signed, or whoever. You could, you didn't have to play in the combine to get drafted, but so then you end up on a team, 7 guys, 7 girls. And then I haven't been to an event yet, obviously, because the first one's in 2 weeks. But basically there's like a group 1 or a pod 1 with 2 males, 2 females. So it'd be like MLP, but 3 groups, right? There'll be a pod 1, pod 2, and pod 3. So then your 7th person, you can either alternate them or substitute for an injury, or if someone can't make an event or whatever. So that's why they carry an extra person. Because I believe a couple teams grabbed 8 because there was some players that maybe said, I can only make 4 events or whatever, so they got a substitute for them.
Okay. I was curious how the in-event side of it worked with that many players. So 3 pods set up and then 3 MLP teams.
Right, exactly. Okay. So you play the men's, women's, and mixed just like that.
Okay.
So
and how many events?
There's 6 events.
6. Okay.
1 per month for 6 months.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And I interrupted you. What were you going to say about the pods?
Oh, it's basically like MLP, but 3 sets, right? Like,
okay,
2 men, 2 women, then mixed, and then you do it 3 times. Like, I think, the 3rd pod plays first in the morning at 7:30 or 8 a.m. And then, when they're done, then the second one, and then the pod 1, which is the best players, will play in the afternoon, is what I think that's what the schedule looks like that they just sent out.
Okay. Well, I mean, for everybody listening out there, go and check out one of these NPL events. I mean, having these events as well as, Major League Pickleball events going on around the country gives a great opportunity to go watch a different style of pickleball. honestly, and I know you and I have done even a minor league event together, kind of last minute too, without a whole lot of practice as a team. But I love the team aspect of it. I don't know if you feel the same, but I love doubles and mixed doubles and singles. That's great. That's how pickleball started. But the team environment, coming from a team background sport with hockey, to me, it just takes everything to the next level because you can get way more analytical. You can root for your teammates. You get the whole vibe of everything. I mean, you kind of agree, or what? I mean, so far, what do you prefer?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I like both playing a regular tournament and the team event. Well, I played the one minor league pickleball event with you guys, and that kind of sold me. That was before the combine, and basically I signed up for the combine just to go meet people and try to, like just to see where I stacked up, where I stood with the 50 plus crowd. Like, do I fit in? How good am I? Just kind of get a gauge, and then I played that event with you guys, and I was like, wow, this would be really cool to get into, because it's like when you're not playing, you're still involved because you have your teams playing, right? So
Yeah,
it
yep.
just the atmosphere is slightly different, right? Like, you still watch your friends, like I'll be at a tournament and you guys are playing, I go watch, and other people, you guys come watch me or whatever, but it's still not, you're not on the same team. I don't know, it's just a little, that team aspect is just changes things a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I like too. It's just makes it you're even more everyone's invested in everyone's results when you get really close with friends and whatnot in this game, but the team aspect takes it to a whole nother level, I think.
Yep.
So you were drafted to the Columbus Hotshots. I'm familiar with a couple different players on your team. It looks like you guys honestly are going to have a very, very strong team. Really looking forward to following it as you guys go into event one. But have you been out? I think I know the answer to this because I'm pretty sure you were down somewhere hitting with somebody, but your team's
I
still
was.
spread out. You're not all from one area, which is common in MLP for those that, may not realize how much travel goes into this sport now that it's grown. But have you hit with most of your team yet? What all have you guys kind of done so far?
Well, I played against two people on the team last year at PPA Cincinnati, but and then but heck, that was a while ago. But the I went last weekend and played with Jeff McKnight, which is the owner slash GM, and he's playing, right. So him and his
The
father,
Jackie Moon of the Hot Shots. He does it all.
yeah,
For those that have seen Semi Pro.
yeah, him and his dad own the team, him and Paul. So, um, but Jeff and I are actually playing APP Cincinnati on Sunday this weekend in Senior Pro. So I needed to get, we hadn't played together before, so we went down. He has a place not far from where he lives in Columbus, and we just played in a little shootout, to get figure each other out a little bit and just get a little experience playing with each other. I still don't know what the pairings are for the actual NPL thing, but who knows how that's gonna, that'll be Jeff's decision. But I think there'll be four of us. I know four of the guys on the team will be in Cincinnati, so I've met most of them, but haven't played with them. So Adam Painter's from Cincinnati. He'll be there. Rich Lively, I believe, is from Tennessee. He'll be there. They're both playing with, I don't know who their partners are, but they're not on the team. And then, so there'll be four of the men. And then I believe two of the girls will be there
Okay.
this weekend at APP Cincinnati. So at least we'll get to see him play. And then we're going to try to play Saturday. All the senior stuff happens at 8 in the morning. So at some point Saturday later in the day, we're going to try to get some practice games in. But
Okay. No, that'll be good. I'm always just curious how the team, side of it comes together. I know, like we've been through the Major League Pickleball Australia side, and you can't get any further away than we
yeah,
are for some of that at times. So, yeah, I know you guys will mesh together well. And, for those that are new into tournaments listening as well, like when you start off playing pickleball, it's a lot of like we call them blind date partners, right? Like it's a lot of people you don't know. You got to learn to just play together really fast. And a lot of times that type of thing happens when you're at the lower level or recreational level or just starting out, and you try to get away from that as you meet more people in the community. But at the end of the day, that's a part of pickleball in my opinion. Like you got to be able to adjust, get used to things quickly, and And I mean, your whole team's a super high level of play. So I know, I know you guys will figure it out quickly. And do you guys, so you don't even know, but from a draw perspective, do you know ahead of time, ahead of the event, like who you play, like team wise
Well,
first?
we know what team we play. Yeah, we have the schedule. They sent
Okay.
that out. But
Okay.
as far as like, who am I playing with and what pod am I in? Or I have no idea, right?
Yeah,
Like,
until you get there and yeah, your team
because
decides and
I mean,
throws the lineup.
I'm pretty much gonna. I mean, I have a good idea who the number one pod is. The two guys on our team. Chris Headings was our number one draft pick, and he's really good. And I haven't met him in person, but I've seen him play on video and such, and he's good.
I've
So
seen him play a couple times as well. He is very strong. It's yeah, for sure.
yeah. So I mean, the goal is for me is to try to learn as much as I can from those guys. You know,
Yeah,
we're
it's the
gonna be
same
on the
thing we
same
all
team.
have. Learn every time
Yeah,
we're on the court, right?
exactly.
And speaking of that, you think we planned it, but that's a great transition. Talk a little bit about the U.S. Open, right? So I'm going to give a little shameless plug for the U.S. Open because there's a lot of tournaments out there, especially with APP and PPA being on somewhat opposite sides of things, if you want to call it that. We won't even go down that rabbit hole today. But Jim and I had the pleasure to be able to get into the split age pro draw for split age men's doubles, which is I don't want to say a rare event, but you don't see a lot of split age pro tournaments where you have a decent amount of big name players as well. And I know you and Lexi played together for mixed split, and I played with Jen Gallus, who's in NPL as well. You had a lot of NPL players spread throughout the split age side. And I mean, the U.S. Open as a whole, for those that haven't checked it out, haven't experienced it, tell everybody out there, like, if you can get in playing through the lottery, there's a lottery process through pickleball brackets each year. Try that, try to get in, whether you're a 2-5 player or a 6-0 player, 7-0 player. Try the lottery, try to get in. But if you can't, go and watch if you haven't been before. Support friends, meet new people. The facility is massive at the East Naples Community Center. MPC Naples Pickleball Club is there. But reason I wanted to bring it up mainly, other than my plug there, is that for me, I had never done a split age event before. You and I play together, I'd say somewhat regularly as I play with anybody really, in any set area. And but it was a different. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. That was one of them, and all the split age stuff. I really felt like the game became more um, fundamentally oriented and like a little more. I don't know, the grassroots pickleball. Say it like everybody wasn't as much grip and rip, speeding up balls and things like that. Everybody was really trying to find the right niche for their team. You and I had a not the easiest draw in the whole world to play, and we'll get into that in a second. But I mean, what did you think? Because I'm pretty sure that was your first split age event as well, right?
Yeah. That was my first U.S. Open, my first split age event. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I wish I could have enjoyed mixed a little better. I didn't play my best on mixed day, but
Neither did I, man. So I think if we got our partners in on this from either side, I don't know what they'd have to say. They'd probably be nice to us, but I did not play well. I did not
no,
play
I
well
did not
either.
either.
So I'll hear you. I hear you on that. Not the results we wanted in mixed split, but I mean men's
Yeah,
split. We had a good kind of going into our journey, and for those again that are listening that haven't been through like large tournament draws, what did we have? 50? I really don't know. Was it 50 some
it was
odd
like
teams?
53 teams or something like that.
And I think we were either 32 or the 33 seed. So we were seeded. Our first matchup was against, say we were 32, the other team was 33, right? And
Right.
so we found a way to come out, win that one in a couple games. I think we got our legs underneath us and the Florida morning behind us. We'll call it that because it's not windy
Yeah.
at the beginning of the day. For those that haven't played in Naples this time of year, because this was only a couple weeks ago, the wind is normally swirling and ripping around there. So then we had a really fun match, which was a partial rematch for you. But so
Yeah.
we play Althoff Merchant and Dylan Frazier.
Yep.
For those that don't know them, go and look them up. They've made their fair share of dollars playing this wonderful sport of pickleball. But honestly, two great guys too. So I know you've played Altoff before. I mean, his dinking consistency was unreal. I mean, I don't know what you have to say about his game, but that was something I'm sitting here like, this guy, he's just not going to miss.
No. Yeah,
And
he'll dink till they kick him out of the park, I think.
and Dylan's hands, you're right. And with so much spin, and Dylan's hands are unreal. So, I know we knew what we were up against going into that one. I mean, but for a team, for those that haven't seen that like level of play or whatnot, it was all about try to win the next ball, the next point, maintaining some composure for you and I, and trying to grind out as many points as we could. And I think
Yeah.
we did that. I think we both know we probably could have even done a little bit better, but we found a way to win a few here and there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we did. It was definitely an eye-opening experience. I mean, you're dinking with Altoff, which he'll dink for, like I
Ours.
said, forever. And then to get out of that rally is to go to Dylan Frazier. So, I mean,
You're in a
that's
lose-lose.
a toughie for. I mean, unless you're at his level, that's a difficult out, right? So
Yeah.
it was fun. I would love to I would love to do it again and again and again. But that's the one cool thing about pickleball, right? Not every sport would you get that opportunity. So
Yeah, 100%.
I really enjoyed it.
And the cool, I did too. I did too. And the cool thing about the U.S. Open, kind of hit on like tournament side a little bit. So a lot of tournaments nowadays, for those new jumping in, check out what you're getting out of each tournament you're doing. What I mean by that is try to actually research, if you're not familiar, what the brackets look like and how many matches you're going to get guaranteed and things like that, because there's a lot of matches or tournament setups where you're only guaranteed really one match now, depending on what type of pool or bracket you're in, especially once you start to get to the high levels, the pro level, whether that's like PPA or some APPs. Pro events have qualifiers, 21 rally scoring. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but your time on court is a little bit less with the way the sport's growing, right? There's a lot more people coming from tennis, a lot more high level, soon to be top pros that are making a name for themselves, but you're getting less pickleball. Meanwhile, at the US Open, right? Like if you lose your first one, depending on, there's a couple different bracket structures. If you lose one of the main draw matches, you might not be able to do better than fifth. You might not be able to come back around for a bronze medal or a gold, but at least at the end of the day, you're still getting 2 out of 3 games, best 2 out of 3 to 11, win by 2, and then a 1 to 15 in the back draw, which, I mean, we had some decently long matches, I feel like. I mean, I don't know about you, but even on the mixed split side, not the result we wanted, but still had some long points, some decently long
Sure.
matches. And yeah, I don't know. I just felt like the pickleball was more the style of pickleball we saw like a year and a half ago, maybe, where we had some really extended rallies of dinking it out, a little less speed up, and I don't know, just made for a lot of fun and a little bit different pickleball than you or I probably get on a daily basis anymore, from our normal brackets. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, the one thing I haven't touched on, and we've left it for the end. We talked about how analytical you and I are. We're also big paddle guys. So, kind of talking about, you're a part of the 20 by 44 team, part of the 20 by 44 pro team. You've been using our paddle, well, pretty much as long as I have been, Lexi or I. So, you're somebody that has a lot of feedback on what you think of it, what paddle you were using before, if you don't mind, touching base on that. And I say that because since we had the last podcast episode, right? There's some poppier paddles out there. It's no secret,
Oh yeah.
the Yola Gen 3 paddle, we're all playing against it, whether it's a Perseus, whether it's a Hyperion, Scorpius. It's a great product. It rips the ball, right? There's a lot of technology going on right now with what constitutes a spring-loaded paddle versus what isn't. Gearbox Power Pro is out there as well. You and I get really into the tech and the handles and the circumference and the surface grit texture, the thermoform side. You and I could talk paddles for hours probably. But what were you using before? What do you like about the 20x44 EL that you're using right now? And how do you think it's kind of affected your game?
Before the last pedal I used before the 20x44 EL was the bread and butter filth, and then before that, I mean, I've tried. I, it would take a minute to explain and tell you all the ones I tried. I tried a lot of them, right? Because I didn't know what I wanted. Because coming from racquetball, if you don't like your frame, you just string it different, right? You can just adjust strings or different tensions, so you don't have that luxury in pickleball. But it, I think the EL paddle has a good combination of, it's still soft enough for the dinky game, the soft game and stuff, but when you want to step on one, it has plenty of power too, right? And I wouldn't say it's overly powerful or overly poppy, but it's for me it's a good balance, right? And the handle length, like that shape that it is, and the 5.5 inch handle and all that for a two-handed backhand, which is something I'm constantly working on and try to add in my game. And it's just, I feel like it's the best balance for me that I've found so far in a paddle. So you can do. Not, I know it sounds kind of, I don't know, it doesn't sound right saying that it does everything, but I mean it has strengths and weaknesses, of course, like anything. But some of them, like you mentioned, the more powerful paddles, the new ones, I'm not sure I can hang on to that, to be honest. I don't know if I can make enough spin to keep that in the court or with my game style. So I just feel that the EL paddle, just, I don't know, it's my favorite paddle so far. I don't use it because I know you and you're the one that that made this paddle or whatever. I use it because I like the paddle, right? Like,
Yeah, and I hear you on the pacing too, because I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong. And you've heard me say this to people before, right? Like people that were around that may not play the same level we do, or people that are just willing to listen to us on what we think about a paddle. Like not every paddle is for every person, right? So I bring this up, but and yeah, we're talking about it. Yeah, it's a part of what we do, and our whole kind of model of being a part of the community, giving something back that we worked on. And I know, a little teaser, we have a couple other paddles coming out in the near future, and you and I have talked about those, and I've tried to get your feedback on at every turn, right? Because like I mentioned, you've been using it for a while, but try to make a paddle that is well rounded. I don't play with, I mean, I may try to hit the ball hard, but I don't play with a ton of power more than I try to reset through people or things like that. So we try to develop something that works for, I'll say, everybody in a sense, if you can learn
yeah,
to make it work for yourself. That's where some of these overly powerful paddles or overly gritty paddles that have an astronomical dwell time that are barely legal. Like for me, that paddle that has all that grit, I'm probably going to top spin more of my balls into the net. Whereas all these new power paddles, like I don't get the same shape that some of these players coming from, 20 years of tennis that are 26 years old, out of college, might have played a couple years of pro tennis. Like they're going to get that shape maybe out of a more
right.
powerful paddle, right? Like, so not every paddle's for everybody, but I mean, we do have a couple more options coming out. I know we've talked about it a bit. I know you haven't even seen the next two yet really in person, but those will be coming out. You talked about the handle length. We have something in the works with a little bit shorter handle for those that like to stick with more one-handed backhand side. We also have one that even has a little bit more pop coming out. Right now the EL is a 16 millimeter product. We will have a 13 millimeter paddle coming out here shortly. So very interested to see your feedback on those when we get there, and everyone else is checking those out as well. If you are interested, go and visit the website 20x44.net, 20by44.net. You'll see all our products. We do have a few other things launching in the near future as well. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that, and good luck this weekend. First of all, I don't know when we're going to get this podcast fully produced and out there, so it may be beyond the APP Cincy time frame. But if we get it out before then, and you're in the area, go and support Jim this weekend. I won't be able to make it down there again on the weekend to be able to go cheer him on myself. So hopefully the weather holds off. That those courts can get rainy. You're supposed to have a good weekend, you said, but
Yeah, it looks like it.
yeah, I mean those courts are really nice too. They run a great event, and as always, Ken Herman and the APP are putting on a good show down there. So, but good luck not only in men's, but I know you're playing mixed with our good friend D as well. So,
Yep.
but is that your guys' first tournament together?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be the first tournament.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think you and Dee will tear it up, and she played a little minor league with us this past weekend, so I know she's raring to go and excited for it
Uh-oh.
too. So, all right, Jim. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you joining us. Anything else you have for us?
Nope. Only one more thing I'll say about the paddle is a lot of my local friends and players that I play with around here, every person that I let try it, nobody like doesn't, some people don't really, it's not their style of paddle, but I've never had anybody say they couldn't play with it. Right. I mean, it's like you said, it's a good all around paddle, and a lot of people have switched to them. The other night or Wednesday night we were playing, and there was 2 courts of us, and I believe there was 6 or 7 of the people all had that paddle. So I got people switching over to it, but
That's cool, and we appreciate it too, as as we're trying to build this community. But I'll tell you, that's one thing. I had somebody bring the same thing up to me the other day. They called me. They're actually from Brighton, Michigan here, so 45 minutes from where I am for those listening. And right now, and called me and was like, I didn't realize you launched the paddles. Like they don't use social media much. I don't even think they have any like Facebook accounts or anything. It's like I knew you were launching. Didn't know you launched. Then I was over at Wolverine Pickleball, and these weren't with our U of M paddles. If people have listened to our past episodes, but they were just all our standard paddles. And they're like, I looked over, and 7 of the 8 people, like on like one court on one side, one court on the other side at Wolverine, were all using 20 by 44 paddles. They're like, I had to ask somebody, what is it? And they're like, oh, it's it's the company that Brandon launched, a couple months ago, whatever. Didn't even know, and called me. So, it's pretty cool to see the growth in the community side, and that's what we want to keep doing. So we appreciate you helping spread the word, grow this community, and help more people get into the game. So appreciate having you on, Jim. So until the next episode of 20 by 44 Life, a pickleball podcast, let's rally together. Take care, everyone.